Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Today's program is being recorded. Any views expressed in this webinar are for general educational purposes only and do not represent any official views or positions of the sponsoring or presenters organizations. We are looking forward to your questions at the end of the program, so please submit them anytime using the Q&A window. Greetings and welcome to today's educational program, Building High-Performing Organizations, Driving Digital Transformation by Louis G. Morales. This is your moderator, Shobha Mittal with ASQ Quality Management Division. Today we have the distinct pleasure of hearing from Louis G. Morales. Please join me in welcoming him. Louis is a doctoral learner at Capella University, about to finish his doctorate in business administration with a specialization in organizational development and leadership. He has been a senior ASQ member since 1996 and holds 3 ASQ certifications: CMQOE, CSSGB, and CQIA. He's also a PMP certified from Project Management Institute and a member of Association of Change Management Professionals. Lewis has successfully applied organizational and individual change management models such as Prasai Adkar, individual change models, and Kotter's organizational change models with senior and mid-level technology leaders and frontline process owners across several IT service delivery, telecommunications, and cybersecurity organizations. I do want to add that Lewis is our QMD's current chair-elect. And so without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Louis G. Morales to you all. Louis, the floor is yours.
Wow, I forgot about all that. Again, this is a great opportunity. Thank you. This is a great opportunity. It's showtime. Well, thank you for registering for this QMD webinar. Wow, I've been a member of ASQ for, that's 24 years. And you heard the 3 certifications I hold for ASQ, and I'm really proud of those. I've held various ASQ leadership positions at the section level, 2 sections and 2 regions. I've also been a member of the board of directors. I was a member for 5.5 years. And you heard, I'm the current Quality Management Division chair-elect. I'll hold that position for 2 years, and thank you for electing me. And then I'll be the chair for 2 years. You heard I'm a doctoral learner. I'm also a retired Army officer, and I had the pleasure of serving this country for almost 22 years. I've also been married to the same wonderful lady for almost 47 years, 5 grandkids. And I'm pleased to be the presenter for this webinar. I was asked, and I said, what am I going to talk about? Well, there it is. So let's have fun this evening. Okay, here we go. Next slide, please. The goal of this presentation is to cover high-performance leadership and a digital transformation. That's what you signed up to hear about. So here are the takeaways. Next slide, click, please. We had a little problem sharing, so Doug or Shobha's going to be my clicker here. So we really appreciate that. So the first takeaway next is the high-performance leadership fundamentals of driving digital change. Next. Some best practices for developing high-performance leaders. And next, so we're going to look at the importance of coaching for high performance in building, leading, and sustaining in an innovative organization. Sort of sounds like Kotter's, key step, those 8 steps, in sustaining, okay? And also DMAIC, in controlling. So we're going to walk through some of those as we get through the slides together here, okay? Next. So overall, consider that in today's, I'm going to turn off my camera because I don't want you to even see me going up and down, and I might distract you from looking at the slides itself. And I'll come back in a few moments itself. Okay, thanks. So consider today's senior managers could belong to Generation X, those born between 64 and 79. They could have an average of 15 years of successful career with the organization, Generation X. The organization's makeup probably represents Generation Y, those born between 1981 and 94. To lead successful digital change or transformation at the organizational level, our digital managers and leaders need to possess critical digital leadership skills to drive that digital change. How many times did I say digital? You think it's important? They have to use either ProSci, ADKAR model. Are we familiar with ADKAR? Awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement, okay, for individual change, or leveraging successful Cotter's 8-step for organizational change model. There are probably some others out there that we like, okay, with fellow managers and leaders, okay? So here, some of these I'm going to show here. I'm sorry, next, Shobha, are some high performance fundamentals for driving digital change or digital transformation. They need to have they need to be innovative visionaries. They need to have that vision for the future, not mission, the vision. What's the difference between mission and vision? You know, the mission's what we're how we're organized, what we do as an organization. That vision is that picture out there in the future, 3 to 5 years, what we're going to look like, what we're not doing now. The vision, okay? That picture of the future. Next, we want them to have cognitive readiness and some critical thinking, some mental agility, okay? So we're looking for these, remember, these leaders, we want them to have that. What is it we want to do for digital readiness, digital transformation? Next, how about some digital intelligence? You know, the PPTs, people process technology, those understanding of digital technologies and a digital culture. Okay. We want them to be the digital talent scout, understanding what are the applications? What about DevSecOps? Oh my, okay. We want them to have social skills, people skills. How many of you know a lot of techies out there that just can't communicate, can't work with others, have the soft skills between IQ and, IT, IQ, and EQ, emotional intelligence to work with others. All right. Next, business intelligence. How about the ability to develop new business models? Having worked, has some experience in business, okay, to understand ROI, ROA. Okay. So these are some of the some of the skills that we're looking for our business leaders, okay, to work in digital transformation. So let's review some high points in some of our case studies that have led to some success. Next. So while most of us are familiar with, you know, the third transformation or industrial revolution, how about Industry 4.0? How about 4.0 for digital leaders? Okay, next. So here I present to you 4.0 for leadership matrix. You see here on the x-axis, the concern for innovation technology, and the y-axis, don't worry, you're going to get a copy, okay? So the concern for people, okay? Concern for people. So, you know, we've got, again, the fourth industrial revolution, 4.0. Here it is for leadership. There's 4.0 for hospitality. We know about quality 4.0. And by the way, QMD owns quality 4.0 for ASQ. Thank you very much. How about for digital leadership? So let's take a walk through this. All right. So let's next. So here we got in low concern for innovation and people, the freshman leader, FL. This ability to focus on traditional manufacturing. We know some of these folks, okay? So we see that just like it says, they got the ability to focus on traditional manufacturing structures with a primary focus on the finalized product. They also have very little or no employee focus or customer needs and a minor interest for the customer needs, but the same for emerging technologies, low. What about the next one? Next, please. Here's the social leader, okay? And you can see they got the ability to create a friendly atmosphere for employees without regard to innovation and technology. So we got high concern for people, but low technology, right? So these folks these leaders are mainly supporting employees and think that that's important to them. We know some of those, don't we? What about the next one? So here we are high on concern for innovation and technology, but not so high on people. They have an ability to determine how new technology can be used to deliver and enhance value, but low employee focus. Okay. So next, we're looking for that digital leader, that ability to understand how technology impacts people and the organization, and they're aligned with human nature. So think about this. We're looking for folks, we're looking for our digital leader. If we were on a hiring panel, or we're thinking about maybe our recent college graduate or an up and comer, what is it, those qualities that we're looking for? All right. We're looking for the ability, just like it says, to understand how technology impacts people, or the and how our organizational model is aligned with human nature. I'll let you think over that for a second. Okay. So these are the most productive in quality in digital 4.0, the most productive leadership style. How's our leadership style? How does our leadership style align with this? Next. So here's some best practices from developing high performance leaders from a study that was conducted in a southern tech company in southern China. And just like it says, they had 82 supervisors from about 500, we've got another study coming, 500 employees that explored distributive leadership. Okay, unlike familiar or formal roles, the leadership emerged from delegating work to subordinates with professional skills, distributing roles and responsibilities with tasks along with power, and refers to processes in which individuals became more influential in other members' perceptions, such as when employee gains influence over others on a team in terms of direction and decisions. Thus, by emerging as leaders, employees can increase their effectiveness and demonstrate their ability and creativity and assume more responsibilities. Sounds complicated. So, what were the results? Next slide. So, the researcher shares some of the implications on followers to consider in developing high performing leaders. First, create a manager or a leader training program. How about a development plan? Some of you might have these, some might not. Topics should include monitoring and offering feedback on team members' knowledge sharing and coordination amongst each others. Additionally, managers should be self-aware of how they're perceived by other employees. Imagine that. Their self-concept and self-regulation during leadership emerging process, and offer professional guidance when appropriate. Sounds like mentoring, doesn't it? Okay, it's the first time I've mentioned it. We also see here that leaders are urged to work with other team members, their own learning experiences in a mentoring style of sharing, so they can internalize these as the team members continue to grow with their self-concept. Now, in the chat, just if you want, how many of you have a 360 performance review process? You can share if you want. Okay, now let's review a management training program. Another one that has been shared. Oh, somebody said no. Some said limited to 5. Yes, it's coming. Keep it coming. We're talking about 360. Okay, I'm going to share with you another one. Okay, here in the States that has been modeled or shared as a best practice for leadership development. I click next. Next slide, please. Okay, this one was developed in 2007, not quite recent, but is modeled as a best practice. Here we go. So think about this. 3 out of 4 senior leaders, boy, my camera came on. 3 out of 4 senior leaders continue to age out of their positions in rising numbers throughout the last decade, especially in state government across the U.S. Now, I don't know how many of you are in state government, how many are nonprofit, private companies, those kinds of things, but they weren't receiving education or training needed to grow their skills, or identify and prepare for the next generation of leaders. Ah, succession planning wasn't even on the radar. The need for leadership development was answered by developing cohorts for emerging leaders. And here's the name of the program, Emerging Nonprofit Leaders Program, ENLP. Where? In Richmond, Virginia at VCU. One of my sons graduated from there, but he was not in this program. So this conceptual framework was developed after two contemporary models of leadership, and I love it. The first leader model was, go ahead, next slide. And I love it. I'm sorry, there's the bullet. Was, and I love it, was Goldman. The emotional leadership to effectiveness leadership was an emphasis on self-awareness, interpersonal skills, and relationships. The second guy, second set of folks were practices of exemplary leadership. You know, in the military, we talk about lead by example. Also, we'll talk about the definition of leadership as inspiring others. There it is, inspiring a shared vision. What did Cotter say? Guiding vision. And then we talk about enabling others to act, model the way, and encouraging, I love this one, the heart. So this emerging nonprofit leadership program, okay, was modeled after these two frameworks. So let's look at the results. Next slide. So we had, remember on feedback, we like to have, I shouldn't say remember. Try to remember on feedback, we try to have quantitative and qualitative feedback. On the qualitative, on the narrative portion of the feedback, participants of the coaching responded with very positive comments. And here they go. They had high marks on managing conflict and career goals, confidence and work relationships, and lo and behold, the MBTI, ENFP, ISTJ. How many of you know? You can say it in the chat if you know what your MBTI profile is. Try to figure out which one I am, huh? Oh, there we go, ENTJ. Oh, Rashid, thank you. Oh, here it comes. I see him coming. Okay, ENTP. I love it. Okay, and trying to remember what all those initials are. We got introverts, extroverts, nurturers, sharing. I love it. You know who you are. Okay, don't remember. Okay, that's fair. Okay, so we know what the MTI, it has to be refreshed, right? So as we grow, it changes. But the MBTI tells us why people respond to us because of the way we are. And yes, it does change. All right. So now when we look at, thank you, I love it. DISC, yes, DISC, right? So we put the colors outside our cubicles or outside our offices. Now, the most frequently, thank you. Keep it coming if you want. The most frequently mentioned benefits of coaching included, go ahead, next, individualized attention, objective perspectives versus subjective, okay? Now, it also provided insight to our leadership issues, and the listening skills of the coaches were recognized. How many of us have coaches? All right, you can answer if you want. Now, a particular dynamic that we'll discuss in the last half of this presentation is, that comments regarding to improve the program were requests for more coaching sessions. Imagine that. Yeah, I want more. Okay, more coaching sessions. All right, that was fantastic. And also that when some of the participants left the sessions, they found that they were able to respond to other individuals in a more objective manner than when before they were participants in the sessions. Next. Okay, so we used the quantitative approach when they used the quantitative approach for feedback using Likert. Yes, Likert 1 through 5. In this Likert, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Here were the highest. Yes, the strengthening of relationships among the participants. And we find that even when we do some network. And also understanding their own leadership styles. Yeah, the MBTI, right? Here were the lowest things that they found they needed improvement in. Yes, next. The enhancements and the ability to think strategically. Remember that critical thinking? To think strategically instead of just, just near term. They needed to be able to think more. Remember that vision? Think 3 to 5 years out, and to lead people through change. The increased resiliency, the ability to bounce back was what they wanted more of. Okay. Now, the survey results were very positive, with the scores ranging next 4.52 to 4.61. So on the scale of 5, okay, we thought that's 90% or more. Okay. And the alumni reported, here's that part, on the knowledge of their leadership strengths and weaknesses were high. And they reported through telephonic interviews they could adapt to different circumstances and be more resilient at leading teams on different types of people, having gone through this leadership development program. So those were the first 2 objectives of this presentation, the first 2 takeaways. Let's move to more about coaching. Next slide. Oh, sorry, leave it here. So here's the history and importance of coaching. So we find that coaching can be traced back to the great thinker, Socrates. The word coach originates from, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, Koks in Hungary. It first appeared in literature in the 50s, 1950s. Sports coaching and management coaching found commonalities, wow, just real recently in 1970s. Okay. Coaching only first presented itself as a training technique for management development in the 80s. Let's back up. Now, sports coaching. I'm a graduate of North Carolina State University. My wife is a graduate of North Carolina State University. And the basketball team played Wake Forest the other night, a couple of days ago. The coach, Coach Keats, got thrown out of the game. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Got thrown out of the game. And yet NC State went on to beat Wake Forest by, 9 points. Sports coaching, the coach is not allowed onto the field. In any of our sporting, in most of the sporting events, and the team or the individual has to perform by themselves. Coach Keats got thrown out of the game. NC State basketball team won. The assistant coach was able to continue to lead the team to success. Well, we got captains on the team and that kind of thing. But think about that. Think about our athletes on the Olympic team. Okay, all those gymnasts performing by themselves, and our coaches cannot go onto the platform, okay, near the apparatus, and all those athletes have to perform by themselves. So right now, you're thinking, Morales, what's the difference in mentoring and coaching? Keep that in mind. All right, next slide. Oh, here we go. The meaning of the word coach. Some of you may think of the word coach as authoritarian. We've had some of those coaches. I've had some of those. I played baseball. Or order giver, or the person who calls the shots. It can be mind-blowing here. Or disciplinarian, or an encourager. Whoa, some of you may equate coach to mentor. There it is again. Okay, let's pause. What is a mentor? How is a mentor the same as? Here's Bloom's taxonomy, right? Compare and contrast. Mentor and coach. All right, here we go. A mentor may focus. Well, here we go. Let's back up. Both of them provide feedback. That's the comparison. Now, here's the contrast. The mentor is more about one's career or a specific issue, while a coach, did you write that down? While a coach provides feedback on a specific skill, or rather skills and performance. Whoa, was that mind-blowing? A mentor provides feedback on a career or a specific issue, while a coach provides feedback on skills or performance. Wow, I didn't see. I'm watching the chat. Okay, thank you. Here we go. Coach is skills focused. Next slide. So this, coaching can be challenging, and there we go. Can be challenging. So before I go into some observations about that, here's another study. So here, if you're writing here, before we get into the next study, write this down. So here's a study of 219 managers. 219 were surveyed in amongst 50 different manufacturing and service organizations. And the participants had an average age of 43 and a half years, 44 years. They were made up of 63% male, which leaves 37% female. 63% male, 37% female, and had an average of 13 years of managerial experience, actually 12.8 of experience over 8 different functional disciplines. One more time, 219 managers, 50 different service organizations, 43.5 years of age, 63% males, 37% female, 12.8 managerial years of experience, 8 different functional disciplines. And here's what the survey revealed. Next slide. Wow. 46% believed that a large percent of managers are not effective coaches. Not effective coaches. There's 216 participants minus the 4 of us, 212. Imagine if you were surveyed right now. Managers can struggle to find time to make coaching a priority. How many would you agree? Coaching is an area, you can read it there, that needs development for many managers. Many managers have never been trained in effective coaching. Okay? And few managers have coaches to coach them on how to become effective coaches. I'll leave it up there for a few seconds more. Okay, so, oh, by the way, this was conducted between 2015 and 2017. So this is fairly recent. Okay, the study was conducted in between 2015 and 2017, 2-year-long study. So it does have some relevancy. Sound familiar? Okay, so how can we, because of this, what are some of the implications? Next slide. Whoa, an employability and motivation coaching matrix. Remember, you can get a copy of this. So some of you may be taking a screenshot of this. That's fair. Okay. And at the end of this, you're going to get my email to get a copy of this of the PDF slides. So look at this matrix. So I don't know if my mouse, you can see the cursor. So here we have a 2x2 or whatever matrix you want to call this. So the result of it, the Longnecker, he's the researcher. He created the employability matrix. We see here the 4 categories are displayed. So we've got here along the X. Oh, thank you. Along the X, we got the employee motivation, and along the Y, the employability. Okay, and then in category 1, we've got the high, and this type of employee you can see at the bottom of the box. Yeah, that's the dream employee. That's where we got the high pats, and in the lower left, we've got the low ability, low motivation. That's the change or go employee. That's the low pats, right? The high pats and the low pats. Okay, as we move across the other quadrants, quadrant 3, we can see, this is where we as a coach, as a motivator, this is the up and coming employee. This is where you have in the lower right, we can see this is the up and coming employee where we have high hopes for this employee, right? And then in the upper left, that was category 2. And I might have said 3. In the upper left, we got the underachieving, the high employee and the low motivation. So how do we deal with each one of these? Now, as leaders and managers, we get a lot of information on how to deal with the category 1 and category 4. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with those. I will give you some hints on those because we don't want them to fall by the wayside. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about the categories in twos and category threes. Okay. So let's get started with the tips as related by Longnecker with category one. Okay. Let's not click yet. So let's stay. I'm just going to do some narratives here first. Okay. So category one. So these are the folks that perform and do as expected. Don't ignore them. You're probably the category one. You're probably a high performer. Okay. So don't ignore them. Or otherwise you're going to demotivate this employee right here. Okay. So a coach's role here is nurturing leader, right? Thank you for the check mark. Okay. So they're strong performers. If we ignore them, they're going to be. We don't want them to be ignored. We want to keep those high pats and provide the regular doses of praise and recognition. Okay. Or they're going to get bored. And what's going to happen? They're going to go somewhere else. We need these folks. All right. Those are the high performers. Now, in the lower left, category 4, the change or go. These could be bad hires. Could be recent transfers. Those folks have changed with the organization. The long-term survivors or the hangers-on. They must evolve. They revolve. Excuse me. You need to revolve. Excuse me. You need to review the employee's record with the organization to track and analyze the actual performance, co-ensure the employee has the proper tools, support, and need their job effectively. Work with them to create a serious performance improvement or turnaround plan and monitor them on a daily basis, provide ongoing feedback and document their contribution, and give them a timeline. Okay. Now, here we go. Click. Let's talk about next, please. Category 2, that lower right. Okay. How do we help them? This is not where we get a lot of information from HR. So this is the low ability, high, this is the up and comer, the one we have high hopes for. So we observe and monitor the employee's performance. Okay. These could be new hires again, transfers, contract employees, contract to hire, cross trainings. They need the manager to be training mode. Okay. And we want to help them develop a training plan to assist the employee acquire the skills and provide the resources so they can do better sooner rather than later. How about category 3? All right. The underachiever. Okay. So these could be, we want them, these are ones that have the skills, the expertise, and ability to do good work, but they lack the motivation. They may not even want to coach. So the primary role of the coach is to motivate or increase the ownership of the employee's performance to their own accountability for desired results. Okay, put it on their back. Okay, and give them a timeline, and then they might have to become a category 4. Okay, so some hints on what they want to do there. Okay, now let's talk about helping the coach. Okay, let's talk about helping the coach out. Next slide. We're almost done. So, increasing the likelihood of a manager's long-term success in building and leading and sustaining the innovative organization. So here's the acronym, okay, to help remember how to help that coach or help coaching. C. So in the chat, this is your turn. What do you think the C stands for? Anybody in the chat besides Doug and Shoba? Concern for the success of the employee. Okay, we just talked about in the quadrants there how we want good for the employees. Okay, how we want good for the employees, so could show concern for the employee. How about the O? Okay, click. Observation of their behavior and performance. A good coach is watching the team member and what they're doing well, what they're not doing so well. Okay, A. Aligning their ability and their motivation with the standards, the performance standards that have been set. Application, that's good, with the standards that have been set for them. Okay. How about the second C? Care. I like that. Next, check in. Communication and feedback. We got to talk to them. I don't know how many of y'all were with me one of our Quality 4.0 conferences, and I said, we've got leaders and managers that are afraid to talk to employees. They come in, walk right by their desk or cubicle, whatever, don't even say hi, hello, how you doing? Can I help you? Communicate and feedback. Remember, I told you the purpose of the one-on-one, the 1:1, the one-on-one sessions. It's not to check about the progress of their projects. It's how you doing, how you feeling. Is there anything I can do to help you? Do you have the tools? Do you have whatever you need to do the job well? Communication and feedback. And finally, H. All right. H is not about homework, okay, whatever. What is H? What does H stand for? Anybody? Humility. I love it. Remember the fifth discipline, holding accountable. That's a good one. Humanity. I love it. Anybody else? Okay. H. Here we go. Help. You got it. Jeffrey, well done. Help to improve performance and make them feel appreciated. Thank you for coming back to work. Thank you for coming back. I used to say onboarding, the when somebody comes in the first day, they come back the second day. I used to tell them, thank you for coming back to the second day. Thank you for coming back the second week. All right, we have to give them a purpose for coming back to work. There it is. Coach, okay, concern, observation, humanity. I love it. Observation, alignment, communication, and help. Next slide. In review, the 3 takeaways. Next. Today, we talked about the takeaways in this presentation with high performance fundamentals. We talked about the digital, what we want of our digital leader, where all those technical things, PPTD, and the human side that we just reviewed here as well. Next, best practices. We talk about those studies. And lastly, yes, the importance of coaching. Okay, coaching to build, lead, and sustain an innovative organization. Next slide. Shoba, do we have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wonderful. I hope I can